Peter McLaughlin. Would you participate with me on an online debate on e-democracy? We're both running for county commissioner, and the press hasn't covered us very much. I think
no, they haven't. It's really been kind of ridiculous.
Would you like the residents of Minneapolis to know kind of what each of us stand for and what we're all about?
You'll be able to figure out about 15 minutes
on e-democracy.
Let's get that slow motion replay.
15 minutes.
And closer up with the freeze frame. I'm Bob again, reporting as a journalist and disclosing I'm also a paid communications director for Captain Jack Sparrow's campaign for Hennepin County Commissioner, District 4. On Tuesday, October 28th, Captain Jack came to the Hennepin County Board meeting to challenge his opponent, incumbent Peter McLaughlin, to a debate. Captain Jack accepted the meager offer of a 15-minute debate, but McLaughlin appeared to be swatting Captain Jack away like an insect. Captain Jack is a serious candidate. His campaign has uncovered some serious wrongdoing involving McLaughlin, and he's demanding the Minnesota mainstream media investigate it.
We are relying on a second-hand transcript from the May 8th board meeting about what appears to be a $15 million real estate bet on the Southwest Light Rail. A formal data request has been filed for that and other audio tapes. If it matches what Jump Cut wrote in his October 11th Star Tribune post, we the people have some very serious issues to examine. Why is Commissioner Peter McLaughlin's aide on a board of managers? When and why did the Watershed Board go into the real estate speculation? Is the Southwest Light Rail policy decision being shaped by Hennepin County's real estate bets? We need a thorough investigation of this mess. Here's the starting point. You, the Hennepin County Board, must instruct the Watershed District to immediately put online all open session tape recordings of the Watershed District Management Board going back to at least January 2010.
Commissioner Jeff Johnson, the Republican nominee for governor, has been advocating reform of Watershed District governance. Here's what he had to say after Tuesday's meeting. What do you think should be happening on the governance of the Watershed District boards?
Well, I actually had a pilot project to change overall how they're done. All of our water management organizations are done, and they're all elected officials, and that's what I think we should have in the end. I think if you have authority to levy taxes, you should be elected.
It's simple as that?
Simple as that.
We're rolling north on Blake Road in Hopkins, looking at what we the people bought for $15 million in 2011. This same property sold for less than $7 million in 2007, near the height of the real estate bubble. The 2011 appraised value was $16 to $20 million. The current assessed value is $7 million. We're at the intersection with Lake Street, the north end of the property on Blake Road. This map shows the cold storage site property and 4 other smaller parcels the Watershed District has bought. As you can see, the cold storage property is nearest to the proposed Blake Road Light Rail Station. We're moving again on Blake Road, continuing north from Lake Street. As you saw from the map, the smaller properties up to this house have also been bought by the Watershed District. The Star Tribune's Kelly Smith reported on a recent controversy. In April of 2014, the MCWD board abruptly fired Eric Evanson, the district's longtime administrative chief. A week ago, I gave the Hennepin County Board a summary of Smith's article with more background on the apparent land speculation.
The Minnehaha Creek Watershed District Management Board abruptly and immediately fired their longtime chief administrator, Mr. Eric Evanson Martin. The vote was 4-3, with Commissioner McLaughlin's staff person, Mr. Brian Shackleton, voting to fire. Smith reports turmoil. Citizens Advisory Board member Michael Osterholm said of the management board, "I've never seen any organization in Minnesota in my 40 years with more dysfunction and lack of good governance." The Citizen Board voted no confidence in the Management Board. Smith reports the Citizens Board said the Management Board Secretary, Mr. Jeffrey Casale, was abusive toward Monson at a meeting, repeatedly swearing at him and refusing to let him speak. Here's the entirety of what Secretary Castle wrote about a Blake Road land purchase in the Management Board's minutes at the first meeting after firing Evanson Monson. Manager Casale asked Mr. Whisker for an update on planning for the Blake Road area and its relationship to the redevelopment of the cold storage site. Mr. Whisker noted that planning continues and will be presented for board consideration tentatively at the July 24th meeting. Sounds pretty innocent. Here's where things get interesting and are relevant for we the people. Someone called Jump Cut posted online about the Watershed District 2011 purchase for $15 million of a 17-acre parcel of land near the proposed Southwest LRT Blake Road Station. Jump Cut quotes from what he says is a transcript of the management board's discussion so blandly summarized by Secretary Cassell. All quotes are from Richard Miller.
We're coming up to an excerpt from the MCWD's audio recording of that May 8th meeting, the first meeting after Eric was fired. Only the 4 board members who voted to fire Eric were present. As we'll hear, Mr. Cassell's written minutes are highly misleading by what they omit.
So, like, you know, I think we were all hoping for the best outcome, but we got to be prepared for the worst, and the worst would be if the LRT doesn't get approved, and all of a sudden we've got one of many parcels that lost its attractiveness, and we probably got a lot less partners when the upside isn't as visible. So what I think we've got to do is do a quiet plan of if LRT doesn't go through and it doesn't have its commercial value at the highest and best use of at a train station site.
Then we'll do what Bill said and just put both near to freeze the zebra mussel.
What? We've got to build into our budget someplace the losses we're going to absorb on disposing of that site, because we always know we got more into it than we'll get from it, but the benefits of the creek frontage and the storage capacity, etc. You know, it had certain value to us, and so that could cover the. But you know, if we do have a if we do have a problem in 2 or 3 years or 4 years, you know, let's not have it in a situation where we're in a disaster with no plan. And I don't think it would take much of an effort to plan it out, you know, how we're going to pay for the cost, but we got to have that something in place. So if there's another set of policymakers, elected or appointed, sitting here, at least they know we thought about it, and there's something in place to prevent some disaster from happening or perceived disaster. I don't think anything would end up in a disaster, but we got to plan for it anyway.
I would offer that we should. You're absolutely right. There's no question that we need to plan for disaster. I think that by the end of July we should have a lot more clarity, and that it's a kind of the worst case scenario planning. We should revisit like the July 24th meeting, because by then
that makes sense. Yeah.
All municipal consent votes should have occurred.
But David, you should just have it in the back of your mind on, you know, that we've got to figure out how to, you know, increase the levy somewhat to build up a reserve, or you know, talk to the county about putting part of the 15 million note into a long-term financing, or you know, whatever it takes. You know, we can't be naked on that when that 15 million comes due in whatever year it is. Is it 17?
Yeah.
Okay.
17.
Yeah, you know, and just some thoughts. I don't want a whole bunch of study done on it, but just some ideas, and so that people, you know, can't say that we don't know what we're doing. We're planning for the best, but we're ready for the worst.
Right.
Disaster is such a strong word.
I'm really want to go on record against that.
When we started with this, we went out and talked to developers. Absolutely. We had a very strong interest in it as a senior housing site today. There's no question it's going to be more valuable with light rail. but it's a relative, we're talking about losing an incremental
Yeah,
increase. in
yeah. Well, whatever it is, and we got, you know.
And I will offer that light rail will happen.
Okay.
And I mean, it is,
That's going in the minutes, I think.
yes. But it's gonna be a fight, but it will, like, every indication is that the city of Minneapolis recognizes it's to their best interest. And by every indication, I mean, I get that commitment from council members, not from the
Okay.
mayor's office.
All right. Good.
Magic Saw.
Regardless of that outcome, if we're going to have this on the record, which I would, disaster is nothing I would have considered it as. I think the property has been improved significantly from the work that we've done surrounding it, and with the work that we were just talking about on Blake Road, whether or not LRT goes in, that building will have that property will have significant real estate value, and would not characterize it at all as disaster planning.
Well, you can call it what you want, but it will be when the note comes due, and we got a third of the value of the note.
I'm willing to wait till July.
That's
Right.
Here's a brief summary of how this incipient disaster was sprung on we the people in 2011. Coming up to September 22nd, MCWD board minutes show multiple closed session discussions about buying the cold storage property. The agenda for the September 22nd, 2011 meeting gives this notice of a public hearing. Public hearing, authorizations for purchase of property in the Minnehaha Creek subwatershed and issuance of bonds to finance this purchase. But neither the address nor the property description is stated in the notice. Because the meeting was immediately adjourned and moved to another building, anyone who came late to the announced meeting location would find no meeting going on. The meeting audio reveals the financing is interest only for the first 3 years. Of course, that's exactly the kind of real estate financing that led up to the Great Recession. The net income from the cold storage business isn't even enough to pay that interest, let alone to start paying back the principal. This buy was and is totally dependent on having a light rail station next door. The board was told if they voted to approve the resolution, the district administrator would be authorized to complete the deal. What they weren't told is that the purchase agreement, already signed by the seller, would be void if the deal wasn't completed in 2 days. The board voted to approve the largest real estate deal in its history with no discussion on the record, no consideration of the risk and the possible downside, and with no recorded votes. 2 meetings later, the October 13 minutes has this report. The managers discussed the district response to parties registering complaints or comments about the district's acquisition of the property. The managers agreed that communications warrant individual responses. Jump Cut's Star Tribune post was what prompted digging into this scandal. Here's what Captain Jack told the MCWD board about the consequence of the board's bet.
Beyond that, I think there's a huge conflict between protecting and preserving the environment of the Watershed District, and that is a heart of the organization, not promoting Southwest Light Rail at any cost.
Captain Jack and I can't and won't let Peter McLaughlin and the promoters of light rail at any cost get away with brushing off democracy.